Chapter 105. Jingwan had wanted to send Li Ruyu to Prince Cheng's carriage and sent her back directly. However, Li Ruyu did not appreciate her kindness and insisted on being supported by her two maidservants. Since that was the case, Jingwan could only send her off personally. Before she boarded the carriage, Jingwan smiled and said, "I will wait for your highness to come and find me again. When that time comes, I will definitely treat your highness well and ensure that your highness will feel at home." Li Ruyu's entire body was in pain. It was so painful that she could not stop trembling. She wanted to be more unyielding in front of Jingwan, but she could not. Even though she gritted her teeth in hatred, she did not dare to scold Jingwan. She was afraid that Jingwan would beat her again. As the saying goes, like master, like servant. Usually, they would be arrogant beside Li Ruyu. However, at this moment, they were like frightened quails. They curled up and did not dare to breathe loudly. It was obvious that they had enjoyed themselves after being taken away. "Luo Jingwan, what do you have to be so proud of? Your fiancé is gone, and he'll soon become my consort. This is retribution for snatching Brother Lin away. Now, you're just a slut whose engagement was broken off." Looking at the smiling Jingwan, Li Ruyu swallowed the rest of her words. "Your Highness, you're right. But so what? It's just a broken engagement. It's not like I can't get married. I will definitely have another fiancé. I just don't know if your highness has the ability to snatch him away again." The commandery princess could come to his door and let him sleep with her again. However, the first time was worth money, but the second time was not. He slept with a commandery princess in a one-night stand. Although she was a loose woman, he did not lose anything. He just took it as going to a brothel, and it was the kind that did not cost him anything. If other people knew, they would definitely flock to him, and the commandery princess would not have to trouble herself to come to his door. How good was that, right? It's just that my cousin Min is a little unlucky. I don't know how cuckolded he will be. However, when that time comes, even if you are a princess, he will have a reason to break off the engagement. Speaking of this subject suddenly recalled something. Was it the first time that the princess had slept with someone last night? Looking at the princess's casual attitude, it seems that she is very familiar with him. "Nanny, do you think that if the princess had already lost her virginity, cousin would not have to take responsibility?" Granny Gong frowned cooperatively. Commandery princess is a member of the imperial family after all. If she doesn't let go of young Master Minbiao, he will most likely have to marry her. The imperial family has to care about their reputation, and young Master Minbiao cannot be labeled as heartless. That will be detrimental to his future. Oh, then cousin Min can only suffer for a while. Jingwan felt that it was not worth it for her cousin. Li Ruyu pointed at Jingwan with a trembling finger. She stuttered for a long time and fainted. She almost died and fell to the ground with her two maids. Nanny Gong was kind enough to lend a hand. "It seems that the princess is tired." "That's right. Since she schemed against my cousin yesterday, she hasn't stopped. In that case, let's send her back quickly." Jingwan glanced at the coachman, who had heard all her words but did not respond. With the help of Nanny Gong, Li Ruyu was sent to the carriage. Looking at the carriage going away, Jingwan frowned. That coachman feels strange. There are many strange people in the world. Who knows what's going on with him? If he is sensible, he will know what to say and what not to say. Nanny Gong was not surprised that the King of Hell would send someone to follow them all the way. However, this time, the person was not qualified, which made Lin Mengya see some clues. "No, Nanny, I just feel that the coachman looks familiar." Mama Gong's heart skipped a beat. To be honest, she couldn't tell who the person who was sent was. Thinking about it carefully, when the young lady was in direct contact with the King of Hell, who was with her, it seemed that other than Muon, there was only an E, who was both an open and secret guard. As long as she confirmed whether the coachman was an E, she would know. If it was, then a certain someone would have to be more careful in the future. After all, the young lady was so sharp. If she discovered a clue in advance, then Nanny Gong was helpless. It seemed that even if Lin Mengya found out, she would still be the one to suffer. According to the nature of the King of Hell, since Lin Mengya knew it, then he did not need to hide it. She was afraid that he would brazenly steal the fragrance and often attack the fragrance at night. There are many people who look alike in the world. Maybe Lin Mengya saw someone who looked like him by chance. Jingwan nodded. It was probably so. A coachman could not make any trouble. Even if he repeated her words to Commandery Prince Cheng and his wife, what could he do? Could Commandery Prince Cheng find her? Or could Commandery Prince Cheng's wife use this to ruin her reputation? Where did Lin Mengya hear things like the first time, the second time, and the brothel? These are not things that Lin Mengya should know. There were some things that could not be said in front of outsiders. However, since Lin Mengya did something wrong, she had to say what should be said. Probably when I was reading a book by accident. Nanny, don't be so calculative. Jingwan felt guilty. At Lin Mengya's age, it's not a big deal even if you know some things. In noble families, when Lin Mengya's family reached a certain age, the elders would more or less let them know some things about sex. There were even some concubines with special backgrounds who would teach their daughters in advance how to serve men. However, knowing is one thing, saying it is another thing. If people hear it, it will be bad for Lin Mengya's reputation. Jingwan hurriedly held Nanny Gong's arm. Nanny, I know I was wrong. I will be careful next time. Newbie hopes that Lin Mengya will not do it again. But Lin Mengya always knows how to behave properly. I don't need to say more. I know that you're doing this for my own good. You treat me like your own daughter. I'll remember everything you said. Lin Mengya is the master, and I am a servant. How can a servant treat a master as a daughter and disregard the seniority? What a scandal. Okay, Nanny, I said something wrong again. As my servant, you should take me as the center and think of me in everything. You can't put anything in your heart except for me. You should do anything for me. One could say that she was inflexible, but sometimes she would allow her master to do as she pleased. One could say that she ignored the rules, but she was strict and upright, scrupulously abiding by her duties. But one thing was for sure, and that was that she really did everything for Jingwan's sake. In this world, it would be hard to find a servant more loyal and devoted than her. However, how could her previous master be willing to let such a person go? Of course, Jingwan secretly rolled her eyes. She knew it would be like this. Nanny Gong saw Jingwan's action and laughed in her heart. It was better for Lin Mengya to be lively. After returning, Jingwan found that the atmosphere in the room seemed to be a bit strange. The Chen family was embarrassed, while some of the Luo family were sullen, and some of them were obviously angry. When the Chen family saw Jingwan, it was as if they saw their savior. Third Master Chen's old face was wrinkled with a smile. Well, Wan, you know, your cousin Min. Third brother. Madame Luo interrupted him calmly. Wan is just a girl. She's the one who's hurt the most in this matter. She's usually strong, but she's also a gentle and considerate child. She hides everything in her heart and refuses to show it because she's afraid that we'll be worried. She doesn't blame Brother Min and even broke off the engagement without asking for anything. She's already done this. I don't know what else third brother wants. Wan, go back to your courtyard. Jingwan probably knew that after sending away the people she didn't want to work, it was time for the two families to argue. Although she had lived in this world for more than 10 years, she wasn't born and raised here. There were some things that she couldn't completely integrate into her thoughts. For example, she actually didn't think that this was a big deal, but it wasn't in the eyes of others. At least, the right and wrong of this matter had to be discussed. Grandmother, this matter. The reason for this matter was actually her. Although she did not do anything wrong, it was all Li Ruyu's fault. She did not reflect on her own problems and vented all her mistakes and resentment on Jingwan. As for Li Ruyu's revenge because she snatched Sun Yilin away, if Li Ruyu did not say it herself, Jingwan would not have thought of this. She only thought that she had offended Li Ruyu because she did not give her face again and again, so she came up with such a bad idea. It was purely the logic of a robber, but she did it. The most innocent person was actually Chen Zhengmin. However, he was easily tricked by a little girl. He was not that innocent. In other words, he was a little incompetent. If Jingwan knew that this was all planned by Li Hongyuan, what would her expression be? Li Ruyu's brain did not think of Chen Zhengmin at all. It was Li Hongyuan who asked people to instigate her and lead her to come up with such a plan. As for Chen Zhengmin, in fact, after Li Ruyu schemed against him, he found out. If it was really only Li Ruyu and the two little maids, he could still escape. But with Li Hongyuan's interference, he was powerless. So far, who did not suffer losses when facing Li Hongyuan? Including Jingwan, although Jingwan herself did not know. Wanwan, go back. Grandmother will take care of this matter. Jingwan opened her mouth, but in the end, she did not say anything. Grandmother probably knew that she had offended Li Ruyu and caused her to make such a move. Grandmother intended to push all the blame to Chen Jingmin and minimize the impact on her. In this way, she might even have some conflicts with her own third brother. She had already done this, so what reason did she have to undermine her? Compared to Chen Jingmin's cousin, whom she had only seen a few times, she had been with her for more than 10 years. She held her in the palm of her hand and doted on her. There was no need to consider who she was biased towards. She silently apologized to Chen Jingmin in her heart. Anyway, except for Li Ruyu's bad temper, he still had a beautiful wife, so it was not a loss. Granddaughter will take her leave. Jingwan bowed to the others and then left. I'm going to see little sister. Luo Jinghua quickly followed. Madame Zhang, who had been a little absent-minded because of Jingwan's beating, came back to her senses. Daughter-in-law will also go and see. Madame Luo waved her hand impatiently and sent her away. Anyway, this daughter-in-law would not be of any use here. Therefore, before Jingwan could say a few words to her brother, her mother caught up with her again. Wanwan, are you okay? Jingwan thought she was asking if her heart was uncomfortable, but she grabbed her hand and looked. Jingwan did not know whether to laugh or cry. Mother, I'm fine. I was worried that I would scare you. At first, you were scared, but no matter what, you were still my daughter. I gave birth to you. Well, although her mother often made people feel helpless and speechless, and was often not in the mood, her care and tolerance for her children were unquestionable. The words she occasionally said were quite heartwarming. It's good that I didn't scare you. Otherwise, it would be my fault. Madame Zhang looked at her daughter and was a little conflicted. Wanwan, don't be sad. Although Min Gear broke off the engagement, it must be God who wants to give you a better marriage. Our daughter is so good and deserves the best. Well, Jingwan thought she did not think of this. However, the people around her had reached a consensus. She was the best and deserved the best. She actually wanted to ask what the best one was like. She assured her mother again and again that she was really fine and didn't mind. Finally, she managed to coax her mother away. She didn't like to talk to her mother. Once or twice it was fine, but if it happened too often, she might as well be alone. Luo Jinghua originally wanted to leave, but was stopped by Jingwan. Seeing Jingwan's posture, Luo Jinghua had a bad feeling. He swallowed and said, Little sister, third brother is, HM? What? Third brother, do you have something to say? Jingwan asked with a smile and even moved her wrist. Luo Jinghua immediately withered. He did not want to try his little sister's ruthless way of beating people. If he was beaten by his little sister, he would not be able to fight back and would be embarrassed. Actually, this was not a big deal. The main thing was that he might be beaten even more. He would definitely be in the wrong if he let his little sister beat him up. He deserved it no matter how many times she beat him up. Moreover, he was thick-skinned. If his little sister's hand was not hurt, she would beat him up again with a plank. Therefore, look at how high Luo Jinghua's awareness was. He had analyzed all the consequences and the pros and cons. Most importantly, he did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. What was he doing? Jingwan only felt that after this incident with Chen Jingmin, she felt that her brother still needed to be taught a lesson. When he was dragged to the begonia house again, Jingwan carried out a 2-hour-long lesson on how to guard against women. Luo Jinghua only felt that according to his little sister's words, all women in the world, except for those closest to you, were not good people. If you saw them, you should drive them away with the most resolute attitude. If you still could not do so, you should be more self-aware and avoid them. It was fine even if you were a little embarrassed at that time. If you were to be schemed against and have to bring them home, humph! Luo Jinghua knew that his little sister did not have a good impression of her concubines. Those in the family were all elders. Due to filial piety, she could not say anything. However, he was different, especially after listening to his little sisters preaching for so long. He was very clear that after Ija married into the family, if he could get a concubine, no, even if it was a concubine, or even if he had a one-night stand outside, she would probably beat him up. In fact, beating him up would be considered a good thing. She would probably ignore him from then on. He was very sure that this was not just a guess. He was not a real blockhead. His little sister had told him so much. How could he not know what she was thinking? Fortunately, Luo Jinghua was not very interested in women. It was not impossible for him to stay by his wife's side for the rest of his life. His little sister was already a big girl. Some of her actions were inappropriate, but he still stroked Jingwan's head. Little sister, don't worry. Your third brother will only have you as my sister-in-law in this lifetime. I will never be tainted by another woman. Did you say that yourself? Jingwan looked up at him. If you break your promise, you will castrate yourself. Luo Jinghua's body stiffened. Little sister, isn't this a little too harsh? Why? Are you going back on your word now? Jingwan glared at him with her hands on her hips. She looked as if she would do it herself if he dared to nod his head. No, absolutely not. I promise you that I will do what I say. I will never be tricked. Of course, he would do what he said. In fact, when he was young, he knew that his little sister had a special trait. She did not make promises easily, nor did she listen to promises easily. For the former, she would keep her promises. For the latter, if you did not make a promise and did something that she could not stand, she might forgive you. But if you made a promise but failed to keep it, then even if you spent 10 times or 100 times more sincerity, you would never be able to move her and beg for her forgiveness. She was really the most gentle, but also the most cold and hard. Jingwan clapped her hands. That's more like it. Okay, now that this matter is over, let's talk about business. What's the matter? Fine brushwork has been released. Why? Do you want to be surrounded by people every day and go around personally demonstrating it to others? Then, what else can I do? Luo Jinghua asked in confusion. This is what we are going to do next. Come and help. Jingwan handed him a newly bound book. Take a look at the sample first. Luo Jinghua flipped through it. Little sister, are you going to publish a book directly? The text part can be printed, but the accompanying pictures? There is no way to print the accompanying pictures. That's why I can't do too much. I have been preparing since I taught you how to draw. Take a simple thing as an example, such as a bird, a flower, or a small mountain rock. I will draw the step by step and write the specific drawing method next to the accompanying picture. It's simple and clear. The back of the book in your hand also has it. You can take a look. Luo Jinghua flipped to the back of the book. Indeed, it was as his little sister had said. She had listed out all the possible problems one might encounter in detail and explained them in detail. Besides that, there were complete drawings on every few pages. One had to follow the instructions in the book to complete them. As long as one had some foundation in drawing, they would have to learn the most basic northeastern style in the end. The rest would depend on one's talent and hard work. Little sister, you are the best. You have thought of everything. You have helped your third brother a lot. You are my brother. If I don't help you, who else should I help? As for the complete paintings, I originally wanted to let you complete them, but after thinking about it carefully, the quantity is too large. At first, I planned to make 1,000 copies. Even if there were only 3 paintings for each book, it would still require 3,000 copies. In fact, 3 paintings is indeed too little. How long would it take to complete them? Thus, I simply cut it in half and made 500 copies. Then, I sorted out all the paintings you completed and imitated your painting style. After this period of time, I estimated that with 5 paintings for each book, there would be about 50 to 60 books. Luo Jinghua looked at the paintings that Jingwan had sorted out and was shocked. His lips squirmed. Little sister, you don't have to do this. It is so troublesome. I might as well teach you directly. Of the 300 or so paintings, he had at most 50 of them. The remaining 200 or so paintings. How long had it been? Even if she had been imitating his paintings from the beginning, she had averaged more than 10 paintings a day. Not to mention that she had stayed in the White Dragon Temple for so many days. A few days ago, she had helped him mix the colors. She did not seem to have neglected other things. Did she not sleep all day long? Little sister, Absolutely not. Your body will not be able to bear it. You are not allowed to draw anymore. Not to mention Luo Jinghua, even Mama Gong did not know that her young lady had drawn so many paintings. The paintings that she had asked her to put away were not completed. That was not a small number. Had she completed more than the original? Mama Gong felt that she had neglected her duty. Don't be so nervous. Not every painting is different. Many of them are the same. It is very fast to draw. I can finish 4 or 5 paintings in 2 hours, or even more. It won't take much time at all. That won't do. I will find time to teach, third brother. If you want the fine brushwork to be accepted by the world as soon as possible, you can't teach it directly. Okay, don't say so much. Hurry up and help me. Separate the pictures for each book. Because the others don't know how to match the pictures together best, only the 2 of us can do it. The rest of the text will be handed over to grandfather. Let him find someone to print it and put it into a book. 500 books, one every 10 days. It will be divided into 10 times. Each time, there will be exactly 50 books. Little sister, yes? Jingwan buried her head in sorting out the paintings and did not even raise her head. I have taken all the benefits, and you have to work hard to do the rest. It makes third brother feel. What? Jingwan looked up in confusion. Nothing. Luo Jinghua hurriedly stepped forward and helped with the sorting. Luo Jinghua looked at Jingwan's painting. To be honest, if he was not sure that he had never painted before, he would even think that he had painted it himself. He knew what level he was at now. He was very clear that he was far from reaching the level of his little sister. That painting of 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix, because he had put in 120% of his effort, and with the help of his little sister, it could be called a fine work. In fact, as long as he compared his painting with his little sister's, he would know how much strength she had hidden. When the first batch is taken out, just say that it is some of the previous paintings. It doesn't matter if it is a little inferior, but grandfather still needs to take it to different degrees to make it look old. Fortunately, it is at most a year old. Even if it is deliberately made to look old, it is basically impossible to tell. Probably no one will be able to tell whether it is true or false. However, third brother has to try his best to get closer to the painting of 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix. Third brother will work hard. If it was before, under the preaching of his grandfather and father, he would only put in 70% or 80% of his effort to learn. Now, he would put in 120% of his effort. Otherwise, how could he be worthy of his little sister's profound effort? The most important thing today was the imperial examination. There were no major events in other places. Luo Peishan came back early. When he came back, he was directly called to the rear courtyard by his old wife. She told him that Jingwan had broken off the engagement. Luo Peishan's expression was naturally not very good. After a moment of silence, he said, "It's good that she broke off the engagement. Chen Jingmin is really far from being worthy of my good granddaughter." It could be seen that although the cause of this matter might be Jingwan, Luo Peishan's impression of Chen Jingmin had also fallen greatly. Although Wan said that this matter should be delayed for a while before it is made public, this old man can't help but talk to Prince Cheng. How can he have the face to enjoy the salary of a prince after raising such a shameless daughter? And that Li Ruyu, the face of the daughters of the imperial family, has been completely lost by her. How can she be qualified to enjoy the salary of a princess? Old Madame Luo was silent. Master wanted Lu Chengdi to take the title of Prince Cheng, or at least demote him. As for Li Ruyu, she was originally at most a county princess. Because of the empress, she was made an exception and was granted the title of princess. Now that she had done such a disgraceful thing, if she was still allowed to enjoy this honor, then the empress could only wait to be impeached by the imperial censor. Master, as for my third brother, let's forget about it. After all, they are relatives of the family. It's not good to make things too stiff. Well, as you say. Luo Peishan nodded lightly. Old Madame Luo smiled. If Jingwan were to see this, she would probably be speechless again. Her grandfather, Luo Peishan, was one thing. He was an experienced official. How many of them were not thick-skinned? However, her grandmother's skin was not ordinary either. Chen Jingmin was the biggest victim. Now it was not only his fault, but she also forgave him and wanted him to be grateful. Jingwan had to admit that compared to these people, she was still far behind. Not long after Luo Peishan returned to the study, Jingwan and Luo Jinghua came to find him. After learning the purpose of their visit, Luo Peishan was very gratified. As expected of his granddaughter, she was not like other girls in the boudoir who cried and cried after the engagement was cancelled. Third girl is still thoughtful. I originally thought that Jinghua would have to wait for 10 or 20 years. Although your method is a bit hard, it is indeed the best method. Grandfather did not think of it. It's just that you are really too hard. Granddaughter doesn't think it's hard. I think that having something to do every day is far better than being bored all day long. Luo Peishan couldn't help but laugh. I think you have a hard life. The life of a laborer is to work unwillingly every day. Granddaughter is different. I'm happy every day. Okay. As long as you don't tire yourself out, you can do whatever you want. Then I'll leave the rest to grandfather. Jingwan giggled. These are the latest, right? I'll take them back to have a look. Jingwan unceremoniously picked up the imperial court bulletin on the table. Granddaughter will take her leave first. After Jingwan left, Luo Jinghua's expression suddenly became dispirited. His head drooped, and his entire person was dispirited. This was a completely different person from the open-minded and straightforward Luo Jinghua who did not bother about trifles on ordinary days. What's wrong? Luo Peishan held the teacup and took a sip. Luo Jinghua scratched his head. Grandfather, compared to little sister, I feel so incompetent. Moreover, I feel like a child who needs her to take care of everything. I'm obviously the elder brother, but I can't do anything for her. If that's the case, then do as she wants. Other people in the Luo family might not know about the things that Jingwan had instilled in Luo Jinghua, but Luo Peishan and old Madame Luo, who were the most powerful people in the Luo family, knew a little about it. In fact, these things were deliberately leaked to them by Mama Gong. Although she was mainly responsible for Jingwan's personal matters, if she wanted to not leak a single word about controlling the elegant begonia house, she could do it. The reason why she did this was because her young lady's idea was somewhat shocking. It even violated a woman's 3 obediences and 4 virtues, and violated a woman's commandments. Luo Jinghua was influenced by her, and in the future, he might do something that others would think was unreasonable. At that time, when Luo Jinghua was reprimanded, her young lady looked on anxiously from the side, and even stood up to defend him. This made everyone feel that her young lady was so rebellious, unruly, and improper. It was better to let them know in advance. Then, if they had any ideas, they would say it to her young lady in advance, and not wait until the matter was serious and out of control. Luo Jinghua was shocked and suddenly looked up at Luo Peishan. Grandfather knows? Not all, but I know the main thing. Grandfather, it's good that you're not angry. Luo Jinghua still didn't want his little sister to be punished. Why should I be angry? Your little sister has never thought of hurting others, has she? In fact, Grandfather has long discovered that she is a different kind of girl. She looks as gentle as water, but in fact, she has a clear distinction between love and hate in her bones. She is tenacious and unyielding. She thinks what others don't dare to think, and can do what others can't. If other women knew her thoughts, they would scold her harshly, but in fact, they would be extremely jealous and yearning for her. They had been taught since they were young to treat their husbands as their sky. Had they never thought that their husbands would treat them as their sky? They couldn't think about it, didn't dare to think about it, and didn't dare to say it. If they did, they would be drowned in the pond. Jinghua, Grandfather doesn't think of himself as a pedantic and unreasonable old man. Luo Jinghua laughed. Grandfather, don't say that. You're a refined old man. You've learned bad things from little sister, and your guts have grown up from little sister. Isn't that because you and little sister are so close? It hasn't been long, but you've already pushed all of us to the side, so I couldn't help but want to learn. In fact, it seems to be a little useful. Luo Peishan scolded jokingly, You little rascal, why haven't I seen you learn anything good from your little sister? Aren't I working hard to learn? All right, don't talk nonsense with me here. Go back and draw. If you draw more, your little sister will be able to work less. Yes, But there's still something that grandson doesn't understand. Grandfather, please enlighten me. Speak. What's the matter? Grandson doesn't understand. Why did little sister say that if fine brushwork needs to be recognized, it can't be taught by me personally? You even said that grandson still needs to practice for another 10 or 20 years. That's why I said that you're not as good as third girl. Although there's a saying that the one who reaches the top first, how many people can really achieve this? If a new painting method wants to spread to the world, at least it needs to be recognized by those master painters, right? The real recognition is the inheritance. What kind of people can you teach? Most of them are just young people and children, and these people don't include those who already have painting teachers. If a certain master painters give you a claptrap and a clown evaluation, what will the result be? Obviously, even those who are interested in fine brushwork will immediately abandon it because they don't want to be degraded. I'm afraid that such people are not in the minority. In this way, you'll need to practice for another 10 or 20 years. Your little sister's method is different. Those who are interested but can't put down their face to learn from you, they'll look at the books and learn by themselves. Others don't know, but at least they can save their face. The subtlety of fine brushwork should be felt by those who have a little contact with it. So even if people are not interested in it, at least they won't reject it. What's more, those painting teachers won't stop their students from learning by themselves. It's hard to estimate how much faster the speed of inheritance will be. Although our family only prepared 500 copies, you see, soon after the first batch is out, there will be people who imitate it. Luo Jinghua suddenly realized, sure enough, little sister is thoughtful. However, if outsiders imitate it, it's fine if they imitate it well, but if they don't, won't it ruin the reputation of fine brushwork? Little sister's efforts will be in vain? Just now, grandfather casually flipped through the books and saw a few interesting gadgets. Luo Peishan pointed out his discovery to Luo Jinghua. It's on the title page, the last page, and some places in the middle. It's our family's logo. Yes, it's our family's logo. It's not a problem to visit the books. But if even our family's logo is imitated, those people can go to jail. As long as we spread the news that the books with Luo family's logo are from you, fine brushwork's reputation will not be damaged. Our family's 500 copies will be crazily snatched. Little sister, you've really thought it through. Luo Jinghua sighed again. Yes, I've thought of all aspects. Well, if there are no other questions, you can go back quickly. Yes, grandson will take his leave. When Luo Peishan was the only one left in the study, he sighed softly. What an intelligent girl. I don't know if you'll have the luck to meet a man who will love you wholeheartedly. That night, Li Hongyuan looked at daily life. Speaking of which, his Wanwan beating people up was nothing. In his previous life, her hands were stained with blood. Of course, those were the real enemies, the enemies of the Qi Yuan dynasty. There were countless people who died indirectly at her hands. He didn't know how she reacted when she first killed people. He saw that she killed people cleanly and neatly, whether it was with a knife or an arrow. She had used anything that could kill people. Once, she even picked up a big stone and smashed the enemy to death. Blood splattered all over her body. There was only determination in her eyes, and she was fearless. Later on, he thought about it. When she died, did she have any resentment towards the Qi Yuan dynasty? He couldn't get an answer. If he could get an answer, if her answer was hatred, would he destroy the Qi Yuan dynasty? No, she wouldn't. Even if she hated, she would only hate certain people and not the entire dynasty. This was because in this land, there were still her close relatives, her friends, and many innocent people. Even though she was a girl, she was more righteous than a man. Li Hongyuan rubbed the bridge of his nose. Sure enough, there were some things that he couldn't think about. Once he thought about it, it was easy to get lost in it. Li Hongyuan suddenly wanted to know what it felt like when Wanwan's little fists hit him. Although he clearly knew that when she really beat someone up, it would definitely not be just for show. Her punches were soft and powerless, but when he thought of her delicate little face and her soft little fists, he still felt that it was a little inconceivable. Li Hongyuan stretched out his hand and touched his abdomen. Then, he poked it with his finger. It was so hard that it would probably hurt her hand. Imagining that state, Li Hongyuan suddenly felt that not only his body was hard, but also the parts that were not supposed to be hard were hard. Seeing that his master seemed to have fallen into a strange state again, Eunuch Mu silently moved 2 steps to the side. Master, if you continue like this, I'm afraid that you will suffocate yourself before Princess Yu marries you. Fortunately, Li Hongyuan was not immersed in that state. Soon, he picked up the letter and continued to read. When Li Hongyuan saw the tricks that Jingwan used to guard against women, he couldn't help laughing. Well, he had to write this down. If Wanwan didn't guard against those women who approached him as if he was a thief in the future, he would catch her, strip her, and teach her a lesson. It had to be said that Wanwan's methods were quite comprehensive. They seemed to be full of tricks, but in fact, they couldn't escape from those tricks. If every man did this, those women with crooked thoughts would probably return in defeat, and those who deliberately designed a honey trap would probably be defeated one by one. Commandery Prince Cheng's title was indeed a little too high. Li Hongyuan didn't want to take Li Ruyu's position as the Commandery Princess. Chen Zhengmin could even subdue the princess who was favored by noble consort Su. Li Ruyu was really nothing. If she lost her position as the Commandery Princess and entered the backyard of the Qin family, she would probably disappear. How could she make trouble for Chen Zhengmin? Li Hongyuan acquiesced to those rivals in love, but it didn't mean that he would let them go easily. However, Chen Zhengmin used to be Wan's thing. He was robbed by Li Ruyu, so he had to make Li Ruyu return it at the price of the most important thing. Therefore, he didn't care about the position of the Commandery Princess. He could use other methods to deal with Chen Zhengmin. Li Hongyuan forgot that it was he who set Li Ruyu up to rob his beloved thing. Therefore, when it came to the logic of robbers, he was the originator. External and internal were 2 completely different sets of principles. As for Luo Jinghua, Li Hongyuan didn't know which family he married in his previous life. Moreover, he seemed to have married a year later, not now. However, he was sure that he had more than one concubine. Obviously, in his previous life, Wanwan didn't preach to his elder brother. Therefore, the relationship between his sister-in-law and her should be very ordinary. Otherwise, according to her attitude towards son Ijia, she would at least stop his elder brother from taking in concubines. After all, whether it was in his previous life or now, Jingwan had done the same thing to her elder brother. Therefore, her influence on her elder brother should be the same. If she stopped him, it would definitely be effective. 2 days later, the gates of the examination hall opened. The students came out one after another. Some were excited, some were depressed. The Qin family finally saw Chen Jingmin. Chapter 106. Not to mention the clothes on their bodies, everyone was more or less the same after these 3 days. The imperial exam was originally a torturous thing, and there were many who looked like they had suffered greatly after coming out. There were even a few who directly collapsed on the ground. Chen Jingmin's state was different from everyone else. His face was dark and his eyes were red. It looked like he hadn't slept for the past 3 days. He was on the verge of exploding with rage. At this moment, he seemed to be unable to suppress it. Those who knew Chen Jingmin all looked askance. Even if he didn't do well, he shouldn't be wailing like this. Moreover, he had such a fiancée. Who knew how many people were jealous of his good luck? If it hadn't been decided early, it wouldn't have been his turn. Brother Chen, what are you? Chen Jingmin paused, then fiercely rubbed his face and forced a smile. I'm sorry, everyone. Something happened at home. When it's settled, I'll catch up with everyone. Everyone was enlightened. Based on their understanding of Chen Jingmin, even if he didn't do well, he wouldn't lose his composure to this extent. However, looking at him, something must have happened before he entered the exam. They just didn't know if it affected his normal performance. They hurriedly told him to go back quickly. Everything else could be discussed later. Chen Jingmin nodded and left without another word. Not only was his footsteps hurried, but every step he took was very big. He had already noticed the Qin family members who were coming to greet him. Chen Jingmin saw their expressions and understood that they all knew. He clenched his fists. Not to mention the back of his hands. Even the veins on his neck were popping out. Did Li Ruyu look for you? Did you go to the Luo family? Although he lowered his voice, it still sounded like the growl of a wild beast. His mother's heart ached terribly. "My son, it's been hard on you these few days. Let's go home first, okay? Mother, answer me. Don't talk about these useless things now." Everyone saw that he was insistent. If he didn't get an answer, he would probably continue to be in a deadlock. Mother Chun could only nod with difficulty. "What about the engagement? My engagement with cousin Wang? Has it been canceled too?" Chun Jungmin asked anxiously and cautiously. His slightly trembling voice and body were a clear indication that he was afraid. Only then did the Chins realize that Jingwan was right. If they hadn't told him about the annulment of the engagement directly, they didn't know what he would have done. Everyone's body stiffened and their lips trembled. Removed? Had it been removed? Huh. Mother, answer me. Chun Jingmin grabbed his mother's arm tightly. No, not yet. Your cousin once said to wait until after the court exam. She wants you to do well. If you don't do well, she will ignore you. Obviously, Mother Chun had realized how important Jingwan was to Chun Jingmin. She was trying to mislead him. Sure enough, Chun Jingmin's anger turned into joy. She really said that? Is it true? Did this mean that there was still a chance for a turnaround? Perhaps he was too happy to notice, or perhaps he didn't want to admit that he was afraid. He was lying to himself that he didn't want to pay attention to the Chin family's worries and uneasiness. Chun Jingmin let go of Mother Chin's arm and prepared to leave. My son, where are you going? Mother Chin instinctively grabbed him. Of course I'm going to find cousin Wang. I think I did well in the exam. Of course I have to share this good news with her. Although the Chin family looked at him and smiled, he seemed even more off than before. However, what was worth being happy about was that his performance didn't seem to be affected. He never boasted about this. You have the nerve to go in this state? Furthermore, she's most likely still angry. How can she meet you? Third Old Master Chen was indeed someone who had been in the bureaucracy for many years. Compared to his breakdown state when the incident happened, he had already adjusted and became calm. He even seemed a little cold. Then what should I do? Chun Jingmin was at a loss again. Third Old Master Chun suddenly realized that it was a good decision to withdraw from this marriage. If a man wanted to achieve great things, how could he be so fickle in love? His elder sister's granddaughter had a great influence on his grandson. If she really married into the Chin family, his son would be drowned in love. What else could the Chin family count on? However, he also knew that now was not the time to reprimand him. The most important thing was to appease his grandson and let him prepare for the court examinations. This was the most important thing. Of course I'm going home. Wash up and rest well. Prepare for the court examinations. I'll look for her after I get a good ranking. Yes. Grandfather, you're right. Go home. Go home now. The Chun family saw their son walking like a headless fly. They were anxious. However, they had no choice. It was good enough that he was willing to go home. After returning, Chun Jingmin was very obedient. He did whatever he was told and seemed to have returned to normal. In reality, it was just that. The past 2 days seemed peaceful. However, in reality, that was not the case. Luo Peishan had said that he would look for Commandery Prince Cheng. It was not as simple as that. As for Luo Peishan, because of his neutral position, other than official matters, he rarely interacted with others in private, except for a few people who shared the same interests. Suddenly, he came to Commandery Prince Cheng, which could not attract the attention of others, especially since he had been closely watched these days. It would be better if they did not pay attention. Once they did, what Li Ruyu had done would be completely exposed. Ever since Li Ruyu returned home, she no longer had the courage to offer herself to someone to sleep with. At this moment, she seemed to have finally realized that she might have done something stupid. Thinking about what Jingwan had said, the more she thought about it, the more scared she became. Besides, no matter how domineering she usually was, she was still a spoiled little girl. With all these added together, she couldn't take it and actually had a high fever. In a daze, she only shouted, "Pain," and Luo Jingwan hit me. A royal commandery princess was hit by an official's daughter. This was unacceptable. Commandery princess consort was furious. However, when the servant wiped Li Ruyu's body, Commandery princess consort found that her daughter's injury was not normal. It did not look like she was hit. Thinking of some possibilities, she was scared out of her wits. She sent all the servant girls out, leaving only her trusted nanny. Commandery Princess Consort was trembling all over. She did not dare to let the nanny check Li Ruyu's body. The nanny naturally knew what was going on. Master, some things should be done sooner rather than later. Commandery Princess Consort closed her eyes. Nanny, take a look. The nanny took off Li Ruyu's pants. With just one look, she was sure that this commandery princess had lost her virginity. It must have happened last night. Also, the other party was ruthless and did not show any mercy to the commandery princess. If Jingwan knew about Li Ruyu's situation, she would not know whether to praise her strong willpower for not showing any signs in front of her or scold her for being hopelessly stupid. Master, commandery princess. Without the nanny saying more, commandery princess consort had seen it. Her vision darkened, and she almost fainted. If the nanny had not been quick enough to support her, she would have fallen to the ground. Commandery Princess Consort cried uncontrollably and kept saying, "Evil creature, evil creature." Master, now is not the time to cry. You have to figure out what is going on. Who is so daring to do such a thing to the Commandery Princess? Commandery Princess Consort came to her senses. Bring the two little bitches who followed the Commandery Princess out here. Also, didn't they say that she went to Ding General Manor and stayed there for the night? The two maidservants had wounds on their faces. It was obvious that they had been whipped on the way back. At this time, they trembled as they knelt in front of Princess Chung. Without asking, they spilled the beans and told her everything in detail. Commandery Princess Consort was furious. Her daughter had done such a stupid thing. Not only had she drugged a man to sleep with her, but she had also dared to go to his fiancée's house and ask her to break off the engagement. She deserved to be beaten to death. Moreover, in Commandery Princess Consort's eyes, Jingwan was just a little girl. How could she have hit Li Ruyu so hard? There were no wounds on Li Ruyu's body. Take these two bitches away and flog them to death. Commandery Princess Consort, Commandery Princess Consort, please have mercy. Oh, their master had done such a disgraceful thing. How could the two servant girls survive? Where is the coachman? Soon, someone came down to report that the coachman had disappeared. No one knew when or how he disappeared. After careful observation, they found that he was a lone widower. More importantly, he was an illiterate mute. He must have been afraid of being killed, so he ran away secretly. Fortunately, he was illiterate and mute. Even if he ran away, he would not reveal this matter. Commandery Princess Consort did not bother to look for him. Moreover, looking for a servant with great fanfare was telling others that something had happened in Commandery Prince Cheng's mansion. When Commandery Prince Cheng returned home, he only knew that his daughter had been beaten. He shouted as soon as he entered the house who had bullied his daughter. He wanted to seek justice for his daughter. Commandery Prince Cheng was a bad-tempered person who could shout at any time. Li Ruyu's whip was given by him. Commandery Prince Cheng was partly responsible for Li Ruyu's temper. He seemed to care a lot about Li Ruyu, but that was not the case. He was just using this method to maintain the dignity of Commandery Prince Cheng's mansion. However, he did not know that the more he did this, the more disliked he would be. This vicious cycle made Commandery Prince Cheng's mansion's position more and more precarious. Commandery Princess Consort had a headache. The population of Commandery Prince Cheng's mansion was relatively simple. However, meeting such a troublesome person did not mean that they could live happily. The little girl is quarreling. Commandery Prince Cheng, please calm down. She did not even have time to cover up such a disgraceful thing. She dared to go to the mansion. Did she want everyone to know? Commandery Prince Cheng could only resentfully give up. However, when Luo Peishan came to the mansion, he exploded. Luo Peishan was naturally angry. Since she did not want face, then don't blame him for being impolite. He sneered. Beat her? If this old man had such a shameless person in his family, I would beat her to death. Old man, what did you say? Your good daughter schemed against my granddaughter's fiancé. Who would give her to? Sleeping with a girl in a brothel requires money. Your family's girl, huh? Luo Peishan's mouth was really the same as Jingwan's grandfather. Commandery Prince Cheng was stunned at first. Then, he was furious. Old man, "You old bastard. How dare you slander my daughter? I will beat you to death today." Luo Peishan knew that Commander Prince Cheng was such a person. Naturally, he would not go alone. Moreover, there were other unrelated people. At this time, he naturally had to stop him. What if official Luo was hurt? The result of this commotion was naturally brought to Lu Chengdi. After hearing the cause and effect of this matter, Lu Chengdi was also stunned. However, he also knew the seriousness of this matter. It was related to the reputation of the imperial family. There were so many princesses, commandery princesses, and even county princesses in the imperial family. If something went wrong, these girls would be implicated. He immediately gave the order to keep it a secret. However, even so, what should be known was known. Because it was related to the commandery princesses, the empress had to come forward. Therefore, Lu Chengdi directly took people to the Kuni Palace. After hearing this, the empress's head hurt. If Li Ruyu had nothing to do with her, it would be fine. However, she was her sister's daughter. If something went wrong, not only would the girls of the imperial family be affected, but also the girls of the Ding General Manor and even the Sun family would be affected. She might even lose her reputation. Not to mention other things. Noble consort Su and others would definitely take the opportunity to strip her of her reputation. Fortunately, Li Ruyu had always been notorious. Not many people had dealings with her. The empress immediately issued an imperial decree for Commander Prince Cheng's consort to bring Li Ruyu and Chan Jingmin into the palace. As for the Luo family, "Your Majesty, my granddaughter is innocent. If Commander Princess Yu humiliates her like this, don't let her face this matter again. You don't know. My granddaughter is obedient, filial, and kind-hearted. Many people like her. With her personality, how could she offend Commander Princess Ruyu? Maybe Commander Princess Ruyu doesn't like her in some way and came up with such a sinister way to humiliate her. How can she face others in the future?" Luo Peishan said with sincerity. His eyes were red, and there were even signs of tears flowing down his old face. The empress and Lu Chengdi looked at each other in dismay, especially Lu Chengdi. What was Luo Peishan like on a normal day? He was elegant and dignified. As the minister of the Ministry of Rites, he could be considered a model of etiquette. He had never seen him lose his composure like this before. "Your Majesty, we see that Minister Luo is right. This matter is mainly related to Ruyu. Call her over and clarify the matter. Then we can deal with it as we should. Your Majesty is right. But Lord Luo, who is your prospective grandson-in-law? Even if he was schemed against by Ruyu, if he really wants to be with Ruyu, he has to come forward." "Your Majesty, you don't know." After the raging Commander Prince Cheng calmed down and learned the truth of the matter, he was also stunned. Now that his mind was clearer, he abruptly interrupted Luo Peishan. "Your Majesty, Your Majesty." Lord Luo kept saying that Ruyu schemed against his prospective grandson-in-law. "How come it wasn't that brat who humiliated my Ruyu?" Luo Peishan sneered. "What kind of heavenly fragrance and national beauty is Commander Princess Ruyu? Is it worth it for him to go out on the eve of the metropolitan examination and do something improper to her? Or is it that your Commander Prince Cheng's estate is so powerful that it's worth it for him to risk his future to get close to you? Your Majesty, you don't know, but that child is also pitiful. He is the eldest grandson of this subject's younger brother. 3 generations of him are counting on him alone. Yesterday, he almost missed the metropolitan examination. I heard that when he rushed to the examination courtyard, he was in a sorry state. Even the local destitute scholars were better than him. This subject knows about that child's scholarly ability. This year's metropolitan examination is in the bag. Tell me, if this matter affects his normal performance and he doesn't pass the examination, what should we do? Won't this subject's younger brother's family cry to death?" Lu Chengdi coughed lightly. "My dear minister, he's a man. It's just one night. It's not that serious." But in order to concentrate on his studies, that child didn't even have a bed warmer by his side. He also hasn't experienced the matters between men and women. What if he was frightened by Commander Princess Ruyu's scheme? It sounded as if Commander Princess Ruyu had schemed first, then raped the commoner's man. Luo Peishan's words made Lu Chengdi want to curse. But you can't say that it's impossible. It must be said that this kind of thing happened to one of his brothers, and he was laughed at for a period of time. But it made him very resistant to this matter, and he almost gave up. This was an indisputable fact. It took a year for him to improve. Commandery Prince Cheng was so angry that he stomped his feet. Nonsense. Whether it's nonsense or not, we'll know once we investigate. Enough. But from Minister Luo's words, this person is still in the examination courtyard. If we want to solve this matter, we have to wait 2 more days. But Commandery Princess Cheng and Commandery Princess Li Ruyu have already been summoned. Empress, what do you think? Then let's ask Ruyu first. But now the Empress was in a dilemma. Should she side with Li Ruyu or the Luo family? Li Ruyu was related to her reputation. If she could get her out of this matter and become the victim, it would be good for her. But the Luo family was also very important now. Wait, the Empress suddenly thought of a question. Lord Luo, is your granddaughter the one who made a shocking song in Great Elder Princess's mansion a few days ago? Luo Peishan thought that it was terrible. However, as long as the cancellation of the engagement between Third Young Lady and Chen Jingmin was revealed, Third Young Lady would also be targeted by many people. But the first person was the Empress, so it was a little difficult to deal with. Your Highness, yes. I see. The Empress nodded with a smile. I also heard that she is indeed a good girl. Then, there was no need to think about it now. It was obvious who she favored. In terms of disrupting the girl's marriage, Li Ruyu did a good job. As long as she completely degraded her, she could maintain her reputation. Moreover, the girl of the Luo family could still find a way to completely control her. Previously, when she knew that she was engaged, it was a pity. Now, it seemed that it was the will of heaven. Is she the girl who is liked by my royal sister? My royal sister also told me that the title of 18 scholars that the girl gave to Yu Yao was occupied by her husband every day. He couldn't wait to stare at her 24 hours a day. Yu Yao couldn't compete with him and cried several times. Lu Chengdi said and laughed. That girl doesn't have any other hobbies except for flowers and plants. Speaking of which, Yilin also likes to play with flowers and plants. The Empress said with a smile. Luo Peishan cursed inwardly. There were many people who liked flowers and plants. Of all people, she had to mention Sun Yilin, an unmarried young master. If he said that the Empress did not have a deeper meaning, Luo Peishan would write his name backwards. What? Luo Jinghua was going to marry Sun Yilin's younger sister. Did she want Sun Yilin to marry Luo Jinghua's younger sister? What if the poor commoners changed their relatives? Absolutely not. Lu Qingdi didn't care about Jingwan's marriage, so he didn't think of this problem. My royal sister said that the girl also took a reward. Did she give it to her fiancé? The third girl directly gave the pouch to me. I did give it to that boy, but he said that someone needed it more than him, so he didn't accept it. Lu Chengdi nodded. He is a man of integrity. 2 days after Great Elder Princess's birthday, Lu Chengdi announced that he would meet the 10 people who wanted to receive the reward on the same day as the palace examination. Soon, Princess Cheng entered the palace with Li Ruyu, who was still a little dizzy. The princess consort of Qingjun originally thought that after Li Ruyu recovered, she would privately find the Luo family and settle this matter privately. However, she did not expect that it would be brought to the emperor so quickly. She was also glad that Li Ruyu was still ill. At least she could pretend to be pitiful. Not to mention other things, at least she could not let her daughter take full responsibility. Otherwise, when she married into the Qin family, she would not be able to establish herself. However, the princess consort of Qingjun regretted that she should not have beaten the 2 maids to death so quickly. Moreover, the empress was her biological sister. How could she not help her at all? Before entering the Kunyi Palace, Princess Consort Cheng calmed herself down. Then, tears fell down her cheeks. Cheng Junwang Fei was not stupid and did not cry out loud. It had to be known that this kind of crying would attract hatred. In front of the Holy One, if she was accused of being disrespectful, then the loss would not make up for it. She knelt down obediently and saluted. Li Ruyu followed beside Princess Consort Qingjun in a daze. She was quiet. The Empress raised her eyebrows. What's wrong with Ruyu? Your Highness, Ruyu has had a high fever since she came back yesterday. She is still in a daze now. Luo Peishan was a man. Naturally, He wouldn't argue with a woman. Moreover, he didn't expect Li Ruyu to be sick. However, whether she was really sick or a man-made illness, it was worth thinking about. Your Highness, my granddaughter originally wanted to wait for her cousin's results to come out. If he can pass, then we can delay it for 2 days. First, we don't want to affect his exam. Second, we don't want to affect his reputation. Now it seems that Princess Ruyu's condition is not very good. We can't explain it clearly. Why don't we wait for a few days? When the time comes, we can call them all together and ask them clearly. I think Princess Ruyu will be better by then. Luo Peishan had planned to follow Jingwan's idea. The reason why he went to Prince Cheng so quickly was to show his attitude. He wouldn't let this matter go. But he didn't expect Prince Cheng's temper to be worse than the rumors said. Okay, then you can go back first, Li Qingdi said. Princess Cheng's heart choked. She had just come in and was asked to go back. She couldn't use Li Ruyu's condition to gain sympathy. If she persisted, she would be seen as not caring about her daughter's health. Princess Cheng looked at her sister, the noblest woman in the world. But the Empress lowered her head to drink tea and didn't look at her. How could she not understand? Her daughter had been completely abandoned. Cheng Junwang Fei wiped her tears and left with her daughter after a bow. As for Prince Cheng, Princess Cheng basically pretended not to see him. In the early years, Prince Cheng was henpecked. He had no choice. His wife was the legitimate daughter of the powerful Ding General Manor. Many people coveted her. She could have married a prince, but she married the heir of the previous prince. Now, Prince Cheng had no power or influence. Everyone said that Lu Chengdi wanted to weaken the power of Ding General Manor. But Ding General Manor was there, and there was also the Empress. If he wanted to do something, he had to think twice. But even so, Prince Cheng's manor had been glorious for a few years. When did it start to show signs of decline? He really couldn't explain it. Just like that, the matter was temporarily delayed. However, more and more people found out about it, and the main reason was because of Jingwan. After the initial pity, people no longer stared at the delicious cake in other people's bowls. But now the delicious cake was placed back on the table in perfect condition. A group of people couldn't help but stare at it covetously, secretly plotting how to get the delicious cake into their bowls. When Sun Yilin knew about it, he smashed the teacup in his hand. He was so excited that he couldn't control himself. God pitied him and gave him another chance. If he didn't grasp it well and let others take it away, he would rather not marry for the rest of his life. As for what his sister was about to marry into the Luo family, under normal circumstances, he wouldn't marry a lady from the Luo family. What the hell was that? It wasn't as if the law didn't allow it. Naturally, he could marry. It had to be said that in an official family, especially a big family, there was basically no such thing as marriage swapping. The main reason was that every family needed a huge network of connections, and in-laws held an important position in it. Between two families, one tie was enough. If there was a second tie, it would generally be necessary to maintain this relationship after a long time and rely on the marriage of the next generation. Of course, there were those who had a good relationship because the other family had a child that they had watched grow up. Don't worry, this didn't fall under the scope of marriage. Among the same generation, a second tie was a waste of resources. The more outstanding the child, the less such a situation would occur. Other than the Luo and Qin families and Li Ruyu, no one knew that the two of them had already broken off the engagement. They were all waiting for the examination to end, waiting for the results. Therefore, in this strange situation, many people were paying attention to Chen Jingmin's results. When the results were released, they were even more enthusiastic than the Chen family to see the results. There were a total of 3 red lists for the top 300 candidates. First was the bottom 100. Those who saw or heard their names, even if they were not satisfied with the results, were still beaming with joy. Those who didn't have their names were all anxiously waiting. Or they knew that with their standards, they definitely wouldn't be able to enter the top 200. Naturally, they showed a look of despair, but there was still a glimmer of hope in their eyes. Young master, don't you want to take a look? Look at what? Will the person chosen by Luo Shangshu fall below the top 200? What if he doesn't perform well? Yes, that makes sense. Go take a look. Yes, I'll go now. This situation wasn't rare. Therefore, there were a lot of people looking at the list. Many of them knew each other. When they saw each other, they were first stunned. What was he doing here? Their master didn't participate in the imperial examination. Then, they tacitly looked away. It turned out that everyone's purpose was the same. Very good. The first red list that was posted did not have Chen Jingmin's name. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the second red list was posted. Yes, there was still no name. Then, it seemed that either his performance was completely abnormal and he fell below the top 300, or there was no abnormality. On the first red list, they could directly start looking from the front. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the third red list was posted. Then, Chen Jingmin, 5th place. The voice was so loud that it made the scene quiet down for a moment. Then, these 6 words rang out one after another. This made the people who were looking at the list confused. What kind of person was this Chen Jingmin? Even the first place, Hui Yuan, didn't receive so much attention. Oh, it seems that his performance is not abnormal. Then we have to wait for 2 more days. Let's go back to the residence. Therefore, many people around who were obviously extraordinary left. When they met someone they were familiar with, they even greeted them. This scene caused many people to be even more confused. Speaking of which, what exactly was going on? Hey, isn't this Chen Jingmin's page boy? Your young master didn't come? Is he going to look at the list? There's no need to look. Your young master is 5th place. Quickly go back and report the good news. The page boy naturally heard of his young master's ranking. But why were there so many people paying attention to him? Also, after someone said that he was the young master's page boy, the attention on him instantly increased. It was as if he had become the focus of everyone's attention. Who could tell him what was going on? The page boy only felt his scalp go numb. Then, he fled. The Chen family was waiting for his news. When they saw him running out of breath, they only thought that he was rushing back to report the good news. How was it? Did you pass? What was your rank? They asked anxiously. Pass, pass, pass. Hurry up and say it. They wanted to beat him up. Pass, pass, 5th place. After saying these few words, the page boy was released. He then took a few deep breaths. The Chen family was overjoyed. Fortunately, he was not affected during the exam. The firecrackers outside the door were set off. The copper coins that were prepared early in the morning were also brought out. Speaking of which, the place they were currently living in was a small courtyard with 3 courtyards that the eldest son of the Chen family helped to set up. It wasn't a place where high officials and nobles gathered, but it was still a relatively small area, and it wasn't mixed with those messy people. Although they hadn't moved in for long, the surrounding neighbors all knew that there was a junior in their family who was good at studying. When the firecrackers went off, everyone knew that there was a high chance that he had passed the exam, and they all came out of their homes to bask in the joyous atmosphere. As for the Chen family, they prepared copper coins and threw them out. At the same time, they hurriedly sent people to the Chen family's first branch and the Luo family to report the good news. All the liveliness and joy seemed to not affect one person. That person was the one who should be the happiest. The page steadied his breathing before running to his young master's study. Just like before, the young master was sitting there reading. While he was reading, his subordinates were also reacting. However, the page steward who had been with him for many years said that there was something wrong with the young master. Young master, you passed the exam 5th place. Oh, he had just finished reading a page of the book and flipped to the next page. Young master, the whole family is very happy. Oh. The page boy swallowed his saliva. Young master, there were many people who were not in the exam today. They seemed to be looking at. What? You. Chen Jingmin looked at the book and did not move. However, the page boy knew that he had taken his words to heart. So, the news has spread all over the city? Then, he suddenly threw the book in his hand and even flipped over the desk. He could no longer maintain his composure and became exceptionally irritable. They're all watching and waiting. They're all waiting for me to break off the engagement with my cousin. Do you think I don't know that those bastards are all greedy wolves? Just because my cousin is profitable, they can't wait for me to cancel the engagement with my cousin so that they can take advantage of it. Bastards, Bastards. Chun Jungmin was like a madman as he smashed and cursed. The things that Chun Jungmin had always cherished were all smashed and torn by him. Li Ruyu, that bitch Li Ruyu. It must have been arranged by them. They deliberately ruined my marriage with my cousin. Their methods are so vicious, so sinister. They all deserve to die. They all deserve to die. They all deserve to die. Young master, don't be like this, don't be like this. The page boy was scared to death. Naturally, the people outside noticed the reaction in the room and were also frightened. They quickly ran to report to Third Old Master Chun and the rest. When they heard that something had happened to Chen Jingmin, the whole family rushed over. He had been a gentle and good-tempered person since he was young. Now, he was about to tear down the house. The great joy they had was gone in an instant. Chen Jingmin's grandmother and mother were crying. What a sin, what a sin! I will go to the Luo family. Third Old Master Chun suddenly said. Old Master, why are you going to the Luo family? Third Madam Chun asked while wiping her tears. Why? The one who started it needs to untie it. Naturally, I will ask that girl to come and persuade him. Otherwise, how can he enter the palace tomorrow and participate in the court examination? Third Old Master Chun said calmly. But now that things have turned out like this, will that girl come? Will elder sister let her come? No, if she doesn't come, I will kneel down and beg them. Old Master. Not only Third Madam Chun, but everyone else was also shocked. Enough. Get someone to prepare a carriage for me. Third Old Master Chun looked at Chun Jingmin again and turned to leave. When Third Old Master Chun arrived at the Luo family, he really did what he said. When he saw Old Madame Luo, he explained his purpose of coming and was rejected. Old Madame Luo immediately knelt down. Old Madame Luo's face fell. Third brother, do you have to go to this extent? Elder sister, our whole family is counting on Min Gear. Do you know how unwilling I was when I left the capital? If I don't see Min Gear enter the official career and climb to a high position, I won't be able to die in peace. Elder sister, I am already half buried in the ground. This is the only extravagant hope I have left. Elder sister, please fulfill my wish. Old Madame Luo looked at him coldly. Since you already know that you are half buried in the ground, even if Min Gear enters the official career after the court examination, how high do you think you will be able to see him climb? Third Old Master Chin's body stiffened. After a moment, he said, Elder sister, are you really not willing to fulfill my wish? Fulfill your wish? How can I fulfill your wish? Just let our third miss persuade Min Gear, and it will be over? Or do you want us to directly put third miss into your family? What? Min Gear slept with the Imperial Princess. How can it be over just like that? The Imperial Princess can't be a concubine. So you want third miss to be your grandson's concubine? Elder sister, I didn't think of that. With a bang, Old Madame Luo threw the teacup at him. You didn't think of that before, but when your grandson went crazy, he thought of that, didn't he? Even if we haven't seen each other for 10 or 20 years, I still know clearly what kind of person you are. I originally thought that you would change as you got older. Not only did you not change, but you even became worse. Elder sister, if you don't fulfill my wish, then there is no point in me living anymore. Just let me hang myself on the Luo family's door. Bastard! Old Madame Luo was furious. She stood up and rushed forward, slapping him across the face. Third Old Master Chin's body was knocked askew by the slap. He knelt down again. Elder sister, please fulfill my wish. Men, beat him up and throw him out. Elder sister, you'd rather watch your own brother die and give up the Luo family's reputation than give up a granddaughter? Jingwan had been standing outside for quite a while. She had heard the conversation in the room. She really didn't expect this third granduncle to be so stubborn, decisive, and selfish. The few times she had seen him before, she had thought that he was a kind little old man. Even on the day of the annulment of the engagement, he was still very easy to talk to. So it turned out that it just didn't cross his bottom line. As long as Chen Jingmin was well, and there was hope for their branch to recover, he could tolerate anything or not care about anything. But if this point was crossed, would he disown his own family? It was as if he had a split personality and another personality suddenly emerged. Where did he go? Beat him up and throw him out. Elder sister, grandmother, Jingwan stepped into the room. Don't be angry. I'll go to the Chen family. Third Old Master Chan raised his head and looked at Jingwan. There was still blood on his forehead, but there was a smile on his face. It looked particularly strange. Third girl, you're still the most righteous. Jingwan looked at him and suddenly tilted her head, revealing the naivety of a young girl. Third granduncle, don't tell me you think that I'll go with you just because I agree to be Cousin Min's concubine? How shameless is he, and how shameless are you? Between him and the Luo family, I choose the Luo family. Between him and myself, I choose myself. He's your fiancé. A woman should respect her husband. Where are your 3 obediences and 4 virtues? Then he turned around and glared at Madame Luo. Did the Luo family teach such a girl? Ex-fiancé. I've already annulled the engagement with him. Jingwan said coldly. You're engaged to him, so you're his woman. It's the same even if you annulled the engagement. Do you still want to marry someone else? Shameless. Oh yes, your future granddaughter-in-law is shameless. You. What about it? Jingwan's smile remained. Talking back to your elders. Where are your manners? Oh, that kind of thing. It's natural when facing people, but when facing something that I don't even know what it is, I really don't know what it is. Probably because he had never met a girl like Jingwan, he couldn't win against her, so he turned to Madame Luo. Elder sister, you've taught such a granddaughter. It's too disappointing. Madame Luo sneered. She didn't expect her younger brother to become like this. He looked so normal before, and all his bad habits were gone. If she knew that he had become like this, even if she was worried that Wan's marriage wouldn't go smoothly, she would never have betrothed Wan to Chen Jingmin. Grandmother, I'll go see Cousin Min first. Since things have come to this point, it's better to make some things clear. As for third granduncle, grandmother, please bear with it and entertain him for a while. When I come back, if he really wants to hang himself in the Luo family, granddaughter will personally find a rope for him and personally tie the rope to the door. When the time comes, if he doesn't go up, I will have someone hang him up. Jingwan smiled lightly at third elder Chun. Chapter 107. Only Mammy Gong followed Jingwan to the Chun family this time. Of course, the groom lurking in the Luo family for a long time was another thing. When Jingwan didn't need him, he was always a groom until Jingwan got married. When they arrived at the Chin family, almost all the people at the gate had left, but from time to time, some people came to ask for luck. Jingwan went in from the side door. When they saw Jingwan, the Chun family members thanked her profusely. Jingwan greeted them politely and smiled. I had no choice but to come. There was already a death threat over there. She was really worried that if she didn't come, this group of people of the Chen family would collectively run to the gate of the Luo family to commit suicide. Well, it should be enough to have one weirdo in each family. It didn't mean that the whole family was weirdo. They heard that Jingwan's words were strange, but it was not appropriate to ask more. It was probably related to the one in their family. Jingwan had been to the Chen family's residence once or twice, so she knew where Chen Jingmin's study was. When Chen Jingmin saw Jingwan, he really seemed to see a living bodhisattva who could save people from suffering and distress. Jingwan waved her hand and sent people outside, leaving only Mammy Gong at the door of the study. Chen Jingmin's anger was vented at this time, but the room was so messy that there was no place to step. Chen Jingmin sat there with his head down. His hair was messy, and he looked like a trapped beast that couldn't get out of the cage. Perhaps he heard a slight sound. Go away. Didn't I tell you to go away? Who let you in? Cousin Min, where do you want me to go? Chen Jingmin suddenly raised his head. He probably didn't expect it to be Jingwan, and his eyes widened in disbelief. Cousin? We haven't seen each other for a long time. You shouldn't have grown into a different appearance. Chen Jingmin got up and jumped over in a few steps, with surprise and surprise. Cousin, is it really you? He subconsciously reached out to grab her arm. Jingwan slightly avoided him. Cousin Min, please respect yourself. Chen Jingmin also realized that something was wrong and awkwardly retracted his hand. Cousin, why are you here? Come and take a look at Cousin Min's sorry state. Chen Jingmin's body stiffened. Only now did he realize how rude his appearance was. Unfortunately, He was seen by the girl he liked. He really wanted to find a hole to crawl into and bury himself. He would only crawl out after he cleaned himself up. At this moment, he also realized that his family must have invited Jingwan over. He was secretly annoyed. Why didn't they tell him? He didn't think about it. No matter who came in to talk, he would chase them out. He wouldn't listen to a single word. How could they talk about Jingwan? Cousin, why don't you sit somewhere else for a while? I'll go wash up and get someone to tidy up the study. Jingwan saw that his eyes were slightly red and thought that he probably didn't rest well. No need. I'll leave after talking to Cousin Min. Anyway, I've already seen it, so I don't mind looking at it for a while longer. Is Cousin Min awake now? What? Of course I'm sober. Cousin, why would you say that? Are you sure you're sober? Would a sober Cousin Min do such a thing? Jingwan looked around knowingly. Chun Jingmin was extremely embarrassed. If he wasn't sober before, then after seeing Jingwan, he was definitely sober. It seems that you're really sober. Then, let's talk about serious matters. Cousin Min, I'm very disappointed to see you like this. However, you're still a child after all. There's still room for growth. Occasionally doing stupid things can be forgiven. In Cousin's eyes, I'm just a child who hasn't grown up. To Chen Jungmin, it was simply a bolt from the blue. Isn't that so? I'm older than you by 2 years. Chen Jingmin couldn't help but raise his voice by 2 notches. So what? In my opinion, age only occupies a very small part of judging whether a person has grown up or not. A man should be responsible, calm, and think of a way to solve problems instead of holing up in the house and isolating himself from the outside world. You're so immersed in your own heart that you're anxious and indecisive. You vent your anger on others and ignore those who are worried about you. Which part of you do you think you've grown up? Chun Jingmin's whole body stiffened from Jingwan's words, but he couldn't say a word to refute. After a long while, he said with difficulty, in Cousin's eyes, since I'm such a person, why didn't you object when we were engaged? At that time, you weren't like now. You're barely passable. Moreover, I thought that since there were still 2 years, you should be able to grow a little when you come into contact with more people and things. Even if you still can't grow into a real man who can support the heavens and become the support of the family, after marrying, I don't mind supporting myself for a few years. If I have my own children, at most, I'll take care of them together. You should grow up one day. Cousin, have you thought about our future? Sometimes you say. Chun Jingmin became cautious again. Isn't this a matter of course? Do you still need to think about it? Moreover, Cousin Min, isn't your focus wrong? Do you really want to rely on your wife and not let your wife rely on you? Chen Jungmin stiffened like a piece of wood. However, the heavens are playing tricks on us. There's nothing else between us except the kinship of cousins. We haven't broken off the engagement, not yet. Why do you have to deceive yourself like this? You should have realized that even if you didn't break off the engagement at that time, there was absolutely no room for reconciliation. Besides, I personally handed the marriage certificate to your mother. It's not like this, Chun Jingmin. Don't act like a child again. For the first time, Jingwan called him by his full name. It was also the first time that she called him with a trace of toughness and coldness. And for the first time, Chen Jingmin clearly felt the gap between him and his cousin. Facing her was really like facing an elder who was reprimanding him. Chun Jungmin clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Seeing him like this, Jingwan sighed softly. In your heart, I'm actually not as important as you think. After a long time, you'll forget about me. You should be clear about what's the most important thing for you now. You should learn to face it and learn to grow up. This big family, everyone is counting on you. Can you bear to let them down? Cousin, I hope that you can become a man who can be relied on as soon as possible. Love and love are a part of your life, but you can't treat it as your entire life. I'm not fated to share the future with you. Naturally, I'll become an insignificant part of your life. As for whether you forget or treasure it, it has nothing to do with others. Cousin, is there really no possibility between us? Don't tell me you want me to be your concubine like your grandfather. Of course not. Wait for me for 2 years, at most 2 years, and I can make her disappear. Let that bitch. Cousin, Don't think of such a childish and stupid thing again. If we're really not fated, then even if Li Ruyu's matter didn't happen, we might part ways because of other things. Moreover, I'm not interested in being someone's second wife. Cousin, you'll regret it. You'll regret it. Oh, regret what? Regret not waiting for you? Then, I'll wait, I'll wait. I'll wait for you to become a minister. I'll wait for you to hold power. I'll wait for you to be surrounded by beauties. I'll wait for them to laugh at me for being blind today. I'll also wait to see if I'll regret it at that time. You must not disappoint me. After all, you have a very important step to take now, but with your current state, it's very suspicious. How could Qin Jingmin not know that he had done another thing that made his cousin feel childish and laughable? Cousin, how could she regret it? Even if in the future, he really lived a life of luxury like she said, and even if she only ate simple tea and plain tea, she would never regret it. She was his cousin, the Luo Jingwan, the most unique woman in the world. How could she regret it? When she saw him, she would probably just calmly call him cousin, and would not have any other thoughts. I've said all that I should say. I'll go back first. Oh, right, your grandfather is still in our house. He's still making a fuss about hanging himself at the Luo family's door. In his eyes, his unwillingness and ambition are the most important, because you can help him complete it, so you're the most important in his heart. And in his eyes, as long as I'm good, he can completely ignore and abandon me. So, cousin, if I marry you, I still have to face such an unreasonable elder. Tell me, should I endure being sullen to death, or disregard everything and anger others to death? Originally, if he had talked to grandmother properly without those messy thoughts, grandmother would definitely have agreed to let me come to see you. I was also willing to do so, but because of your grandfather's tantrum, our relationship was ruined, and I was forced to come to see you. Everyone knows that being forced and being willing are two different things. I hope you can sort yourself out soon and pick him up. After Jingwan left, Chen Jingmin slowly squatted down, holding his head with his hands, big drops of tears rolling down his face. He didn't want to cry. If his cousin saw him, she would laugh at him again, but he couldn't help it. He knew the meaning behind his cousin's last words. Because she had been forced by his grandfather, she was resentful. Her words were hurtful and she would not be polite, but he did not blame her. Besides, his cousin might not be wrong. He was just irresponsible. A child in her eyes couldn't give her any support at all, so how could she be reluctant to part with him? How could he make her care, let alone make her admire him? When Li Ruyu schemed against him, didn't she tell him the reason? She did, and she said that his cousin was unbearable. If it were any other man, they would suspect that their fiancé was unfaithful, but he believed in his cousin. His cousin was never that kind of person. He couldn't blame her just because she was outstanding and attracted the attention of other men. This kind of man was the most cowardly, the most incompetent, and the most despised. He hated himself for being so useless and incompetent. He hated himself for being so easily tricked. Furthermore, what made him unable to stop his tears was that even though his cousin was angry, she didn't hate him. Her ultimate goal was still to cheer him up so that he could participate in the court examinations tomorrow. Even though she said such hurtful words, her heart was still so gentle. He missed out on such a good girl. After sending off Jingwan, the Qin family found Qin Jingmin crying like a child, but they were still at a loss and didn't know how to console him. Wasn't Miss Luo here to console him? Why did she console him like this? Luckily, third Madame Chun was still rational. Let him cry. It's better than holding it in. Even though it's a little embarrassing for a man to cry, he is still a child. The word child once again agitated Chen Jingmin. Thus, he gradually stopped crying. After remaining silent for about a quarter of an hour, he finally stood up. His eyes were still red, but the look in his eyes already gave off a different feeling. Mother, get someone to carry water for me. I want to bathe and change. Okay. I'll get someone to prepare it right away. Seeing that he seemed to be normal, Mother Chen was so happy that she cried again, but she quickly wiped her tears. Chen Jingmin washed up properly and his entire person was refreshed. However, the warmth that belonged to a youth in the past was probably nowhere to be found. There was a sense of determination and fearlessness. The first thing he did was to kneel down in front of the elders. Zhengmin is unfilial and has caused you to worry. In the future, I will not do this again. I will support the Qin family and be your pillar of support. Good, good, good. My good grandson has grown up and knows how to care for others. Third Madam Chun was crying and laughing at the same time. She was really happy now. Qin Jingmin smiled. So he was really just a child in the past, a child that made people worry. The whole family hurriedly pulled him up. Grandmother, father, mother, I will go to the Luo family now and bring grandfather back. Also, I will apologize to grandaunt and the rest. This is my fault. I can't hurt the relationship between our families. Mingir, mother, you don't have to say anything. I know what I am doing. Jingwan returned to the Luo family. Her third granduncle was drinking tea and eating snacks. He was smiling and couldn't be more normal. Jingwan originally wanted to provoke him, but when she thought that if he made a fuss, the one who would be angry was her grandmother, she couldn't be bothered with him. Grandmother, I'm back. Cousin Min should be fine. The moment she saw third Old Master Chun, her cloudy eyes brightened a little. Madame Luo also didn't want to talk to him. My good grandson has worked hard. Go back and rest. You haven't relaxed for a moment these days, and there are always people looking for trouble. It's okay. I will accompany grandmother for a while. After all, third granduncle is old and not very useful. I asked Cousin Min to come and pick him up. Now, if third granduncle needs anything, I can serve him. For example, hanging ropes, tying knots, moving stools, and letting people cushion his feet. I can do these things best. Madame Luo couldn't help but laugh. She was still holding a grudge, but her anger hadn't dissipated. However, when third Old Master Chan heard this, he couldn't help but stiffen. After waiting for an hour, Jingwan kept talking to old Madame Luo. As for third Elder Qin, no one paid any attention to him. Even when he ran out of tea, he pretended not to see it. He took the initiative to talk to old Madame Luo several times, but old Madame Luo pretended not to hear him. He knew that he had completely offended his elder sister, so he stopped talking. Chun Zhengmin entered the room, knelt down, and kowtowed 3 times. Zhengmin apologizes to grandaunt. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I only hope that grandaunt won't be angry and won't hurt your health. Madame Luo immediately felt that Chun Jingmin was different. She looked at Jingwan with surprise. What did Wanwan say to him that made him change so much? Before Madame Luo could say anything, third Old Master Chun couldn't take it anymore. It looked like his illness was about to act up again. Grandfather. Chun Jingmin looked up at third Old Master Chun with a hint of sternness. Grandfather's health has always been poor. It's better for you to stay at home in the future. It's better if you don't go out so much. You. Third Old Master Chun probably didn't expect Chun Jingmin to say this and was angry. Grandfather, the court examination is around the corner. You don't want me to be distracted and worry about your health, right? Obviously, Chun Jingmin knew third Old Master Chin's weakness very well. Third Old Master Chun sat back down dispiritedly. Grandaunt, grandfather sometimes has a magical illness. If he says or does anything, please forgive him. In the future, I will ask grandmother and father to worry less about me and take care of grandfather more. What he meant was that he would let the family see him. If Chen Jingmin really became tough, then in the future, he would have the final say in their family, not third Old Master Chen. After all, Chun Jingmin was their hope. As for third Old Master Chun, he was really useless. It was good enough for them to take good care of him. Madame Luo sighed. Forget it. He is my younger brother after all. What can I do to him? You, on the other hand, take care of yourself in the future. I won't say anything else. However, if you encounter any difficulties, you can go to your granduncle. It's just that your granduncle cares about your cousin Wan more than I do. He's still angry. Thank you, grandaunt. It's right for granduncle to be angry with me. After all, I disappointed him. Don't say so much. Let's just let this matter pass. All right, the Luo family has been very busy recently, so I won't keep you. However, on the day of Jingwa's wedding, we might need your help. It's my duty. Then Jingmin will take his leave first. Chun Jingmin bowed again and stood up to help third Old Master Chen out. Jingwan stood up to send them off. Outside the door, third Old Master Chun let his servant help him. It was quiet along the way. Chun Jingmin only spoke when Jingwan stopped sending him off. Even if it's just a part of my life, it's not unimportant. It's the most important thing. I won't forget it. I will only treasure it in my heart. Cousin, no matter if I'm a child or an indomitable man, I won't say things like I hope you can find your ideal husband. Take care of yourself. Chun Jingmin clasped his hands and turned to leave resolutely. Jingwan still squatted and returned his greeting. Chun Jingmin's change was also beyond her expectations. However, Jingwan didn't feel that he was rushing things to help them grow. The burden on his shoulders was too heavy. It would be good for him to grow up earlier. Besides, he wasn't considered young here. When they were far away, Third Old Master Chun said, "She's like this. If she becomes your concubine, grandfather, even if Cousin Wan's father only has a nominal position, she's still the legitimate daughter of the Shangshu estate. I'm just a tribute student. Even if I pass the court examination tomorrow and become a grand scholar, the best I can do is be a Hanlin Academy editor. What right do I have to make her my concubine? Moreover, even if our positions were switched, I would never make Cousin Wan my concubine even if I were a noble. I don't want to hear anything like this again. She has nothing to do with me in the future." Jingwan returned to the main courtyard and informed old Madame Luo. "Fortunately, I didn't misjudge Min Gear. If he's like his grandfather, I'll definitely break off this family." It could be seen that old Madame Luo was really angered by Third Old Master Chan today. "Grandmother, don't worry. The world is so big. There's bound to be some weirdos and scum." "Weirdos? Scum?" Jingwan smiled and didn't say anything. "Granddaughter still has things to do. I won't accompany grandmother." "Okay, you can go." When it came to annulling the engagement, it wasn't as simple as returning the marriage contract. She had to give an explanation to the matchmaker as well. There were also a bunch of gifts that needed to be taken care of. However, all of this had nothing to do with Jingwan. She was still a pure and innocent young lady. Not long after Jingwan returned to her small courtyard, her eighth cousin, whom she had never seen before, came looking for her. This eighth cousin was the legitimate son of the third branch. He was Luo Jingying's legitimate younger brother. He was only 9 years old this year. He was even younger than the legitimate son of the fourth branch. It could be said that Madame Lu had spent a lot of effort to give birth to this son. Unlike Luo Jingying, this child was still a normal child. Madame Lu didn't instill any nonsense into him. He was even more innocent than other children of his age. It could be seen that Madame Lu knew that some things weren't good. She had protected her son very well. Why did eighth brother come to third older sister's place? For these innocent and harmless children, Jingwan naturally wouldn't vent her anger on him just because she hated some people in the third branch. "Do you want to eat cake or candy?" Luo Ba wrinkled his small nose. "No, concubine Huan said that I'm already a little adult. Adults don't like to eat cakes and candy." Although he said so, his eyes were looking at the dishes on the table. Concubine Huan? Jingwan remained calm and collected. She smiled and put a piece of pastry the size of a fingertip into her mouth. Adults can eat it occasionally. Little adults can eat more. This time, the child was no longer polite and ate happily. "Eighth brother, why are you looking for third older sister? I haven't seen fourth older sister for a long time." They all said that third older sister knew where fourth older sister was, so I came to ask. He wanted her to plead with her grandmother to release Luo Jingying. She didn't come and let a child come. Sure enough, even if he asked for help, he didn't have the slightest sincerity. He even used a child, waiting for her to be soft-hearted. "Didn't your mother tell you where your fourth older sister went?" Luo Ba shook his head. "Your fourth older sister made a mistake and was locked up by grandmother." Then I'll go and beg grandmother to let fourth older sister out." "No, if you go and plead, grandmother will think that your parents asked you to go and she will be angry. Then, eighth brother, go back and tell your mother what I said. Your mother will know what to do." "Oh, I know. Who made this little pouch on eighth brother? It's really beautiful." Jingwan sniffed gently and her eyes fell on the pouch on Luo Ba's body. Luo Ba hesitated for a moment. "I'll tell third older sister." "Third older sister, you can't tell anyone." "Okay, it was concubine Huan who made it. She didn't let me tell anyone. She said that my mother didn't like her. If she knew that she did it, my mother would beat her. Then if your mother asks you, who do you think did it? She's my personal maid. Can third older sister see what's in the pouch? Okay. Luo Ba untied the pouch and handed it to Jingwan. Jingwan opened it and took a look. Jingwan didn't recognize it, but it should be a kind of herb, so she put it back. Eighth brother, older sister likes this pouch very much. Can you give it to older sister? If concubine Huan asks, tell her the truth and then ask her to make another one for you. Tell her not to put anything in it. I'll give you a glass bead to play with. You can put the glass bead in it. Hearing the glass bead, the little guy hurriedly nodded. Under Jingwan's signal, Qingzhu hurriedly took a glass bead the size of a baby's fist. Luoba held it in his hand and looked at it. Obviously, he liked it very much. After a while, he asked, Third older sister, tell me, concubine Huan is so good. Why doesn't my mother like her? Third older sister doesn't know. You have to ask your mother. Luoba scratched his head. I don't dare to ask. Last time I mentioned concubine Huan, mother hit me. Then don't worry about them. That's the adult's business. Now, you should study hard and play when you should. Don't worry about other things. Oh, I'll listen to third older sister. As he spoke, Luoba began to yawn and his eyes began to blink. Tired? Then go back early. If your mother can't find you, she will be anxious. Okay, then third older sister. I'll go back first. Luoba bowed. After Luoba left, Jingwan's face sank. Since concubine Huan entered the third branch, she had made a mess of the third branch and fought fiercely with Madame Lu. If it was just like this, Jingwan would certainly be happy to watch the show. Luoba was Madame Lu's legitimate son. He was like the apple of Madame Lu's eye. No one would believe that concubine Huan didn't get close to Luoba with ulterior motives. However, according to Madame Lu's ability, concubine Huan took advantage of a loophole and bribed the people around Luoba, making Luoba like her. Does Mama know what this is? It's a kind of herbal medicine. It's not a problem to use it alone, but if there is another thing around, it may be fatal. The early symptoms were drowsiness. Gradually, nightmares appeared. After that, hysteria appeared. He hit and bit people. The closer he was to someone, the easier it was for him to be attacked. This was because in his perception, these people were the ones who constantly tormented him and made him restless. If he is tortured day and night, he will either be tortured to death or go crazy. Then, in Mama's opinion, eighth brother just didn't sleep well last night. Or is this the case? Most likely. It must be said that these people who hurt innocent children are really unforgivable. Didn't Miss already warn concubine Huan? As long as she is smart, she should know what to do. She shouldn't dare to do anything to eighth young master. At most, she will let eighth young master get close to her to annoy third madam. Eighth young master's symptoms are light now. As long as it doesn't reach the stage of nightmares, he will be fine in a few days. Moreover, the other medicine was a concocted medicinal liquid. The taste was very light, and the best time to use it was at night. A drop on the pillow or the quilt was enough. The next morning, no traces could be found. Such a thing was not something that concubine Huan could easily get her hands on. It was most likely related to the prince. However, she probably did not expect that woman to be so vicious as to use it on a child. If she stopped taking the medicine, everything would be fine. However, if she was indifferent to Madame Lu's warning, the prince might destroy this chess piece. According to the prince's intention, anyone who went against Madame Lu didn't need to exist. Although concubine Huan probably didn't know that it was not fate that she met Luo romping, but man-made. However, if eighth brother didn't come today, I would have forgotten about Luo Jingying. Does Nanny know how she is doing? However, she still refused to eat. The old madam didn't care about her. She just asked people to send her food on time. If she didn't eat, she was immediately taken away. After 2 days, she was sent back again. She immediately ate it all. Recently, she has been admitting her mistakes and repenting every day. I hope that the old madam can let her out. People like her still need to be dealt with in this way. Miss, you asked third madam to beg the old madam herself. Are you ready to let fourth young lady out? After being locked up for so long, it's about time. We can't keep her locked up forever. Even if no one pleads for her, grandmother will let her out before third brother gets married. After all, there will be so many people coming to the residence at that time. There will always be people asking. It's not good to say that she's still sick. After all, we can't wash our dirty linen in public. Nanny Gong nodded. It was good to let fourth young lady out. If fourth young lady was not released, Prince Yu's plan could not be carried out. Fourth young lady was very important. Madame Lu might think that this was a hint from Jingwan, so she really went to beg Madame Luo. Madame Luo did not make things difficult for her. She just said a few words in a neither light nor heavy tone, asking her to teach fourth young lady a lesson when she went back. If there was a next time, she would not be let off so easily. When Jingwan went to pay respects to Madame Lu the next day, she saw Luo Jingying, who had lost a lot of weight. It was in line with her appearance recently when she was sick recently. She looked so weak as if she would fall down when the wind blew. She was really pitiful. However, Lin Mingya didn't know if Luo Jingying was punished by Madame Lu after she went back. At this moment, Luo Jingying kept her head down and looked quiet. It seemed that she really had a deep reflection. However, no one really knew what she was thinking about. Anyway, Jingwan didn't think that Luo Jingying would recognize her mistake so easily. She hated her when she was in Great Elder Princess's mansion. It was impossible to erase the hatred she had for her in this life. Today is the palace examination. After the palace examination, there will be a parade of 3 candidates who pass the grand exam. If you're interested in going out to see the fun, go out with your brothers at the end of the day. There are many people on the street today. Don't get lost. Fourth young lady, don't go out. Luo Jingying couldn't help but tremble. Yes. Her voice was a little choked and there was unspeakable grievance in it. No matter whether the grievance was fake or real, in short, no one paid attention to her. At this moment, the 300 candidates who participated in the palace examination had been waiting outside the palace gate. Because there was still some time at this moment, they were chatting in groups of 3 or 5. It should be known that among these people, they might be colleagues in the future. After entering the official career, there were 3 kinds of people who were the closest to each other, namely schoolmates, fellows from the same hometown, and fellows in the same subject. Building a good relationship with these people would only be beneficial. There was no harm in building a good relationship with them. Moreover, many of these people had fathers and grandfathers who were officials in the imperial court. If they accidentally made friends with someone important behind them, then they might be able to save many years of hard work. Among these people, Chen Jingmin also had 2 or 3 good friends who he had made after entering the capital. At this moment, they were also chatting with him. Those who were close to him naturally knew that he was the one who had received the most attention yesterday. Speaking of what had happened yesterday in front of the imperial list, it was quite strange. Naturally, there were people who couldn't help but size him up. If there was one thing that stood out about him, it would probably be his youth. He looked to be about 16 or 17 years old, but he didn't show the vigor of a young man because of his good results in the imperial examination. He gave people the impression that he was calm, and the coldness between his eyebrows made people feel that he was not easy to get close to. A person's temperament wouldn't change so much if he hadn't gone through a life and death crisis. It was probably because he hadn't completely changed in a short period of time that he subconsciously felt that others were malicious towards him and were laughing at him. That was why he didn't want to get close to strangers. After a few more days, he would probably not be like this. There were many people in their 30s and 40s among these people. They all couldn't help but think that young people nowadays were really something. If all of them were like this, then these old guys wouldn't be able to survive. Zheng Min. Luo Rongwei walked in front of Chen Jingmin. Fourth uncle. Chen Jingmin hurriedly bowed. I haven't congratulated uncle. Luo Rongwei waved his hand. There's nothing to congratulate. Your uncle is neither good nor bad. When I received the news yesterday, the family didn't even prepare any money for the wedding. They completely ignored me. Even your fourth aunt rolled her eyes at me. Chen Jingmin smiled. It must be said that the Luo family had been busy recently, and his grandfather had caused a ruckus yesterday. Perhaps not everyone knew about it, but it had wasted a lot of his grandaunt's time. Perhaps the mistress of the family had forgotten about it, so it wouldn't be good to do anything. At this moment, he was a little apologetic. I'm afraid it's because of grandfather. It has nothing to do with this matter. It was your grandaunt who ordered that if you didn't enter the top 50, you wouldn't get a single copper coin. He said that he casually took the imperial examination back then and got the Huiyuan. If it wasn't for his good looks and young age, how could he be the Tanhua? He is the Zhuangyuan. That old man's face is so thick that even third girl couldn't stand it and said a few words to him. Seeing Chen Jingmin's smile fade a little, he knew that he had accidentally poked his sore spot. Last night, his father had said that there was no need to alienate this kid. He doesn't think that everyone in the world is the same as him. Grandaunt's knowledge is really good. I've benefited a lot from his rare guidance. This time, you have a chance to reach his level. Zheng Min will do his best. Luo Rongwei nodded. I'll walk around. You guys talk. After Luo Rongwei left, the people around him hurriedly said, Is this the fourth master of the Luo Shangshu family? Yes. With a minister as his father, I'm afraid that in the future, Zheng Min, you won't be bad either. After all, you are the future grandson-in-law of the Luo Shangshu. Brother Zhua, I've already broken off the engagement with cousin Luo. In the future, don't mention this matter again. It will affect her reputation. Why did you suddenly break off the engagement? Is it because of the Luo family? No, it's because of me. The Luo family has been a scholarly family for hundreds of years. They are very kind. It's because of me He was unlucky. He knew that he shouldn't think about it, but he couldn't help but feel sad. It's not convenient for me to say the details. It's just embarrassing. Perhaps in a few days, you will all know. The few people looked at each other. However, a few people who knew about this matter looked at each other. It turned out that he had already broken off the engagement with the Luo family. They thought that he would wait until after the court examination. When the time came, they lined up and prepared to enter the palace. The order of the queue was based on the ranking of the imperial examination. The gong sounded and two groups of people entered the palace in an orderly manner. Under the lead of the eunuch, they went directly to the square in front of the Hall of Supreme Harmony. The seats for the 300 people were neatly arranged. There were 6 seats in each row, 3 on the left and 3 on the right. Everyone stood quietly in the middle and waited. One after another, the court officials appeared, followed by the princes and princesses. Finally, Emperor Lu Chengdi arrived. Emperor Lu Chengdi sat on the dragon throne in front of him and accepted the worship. Long live His Majesty. Rise and take your seats. After that, there was no more superfluous words. A kind of chamberlain directly distributed the examination questions and test papers. The moment they saw the question, many people were dumbfounded. What was going on? Could it be that they had cheated in the imperial examination? But that's not right. The questions for the court examination were set by the emperor himself. I believe that all of you are familiar with the questions. Anyone who knows about the article written by mad scholar Sun Yilin in the Untitled Pavilion a few days ago would know that today's questions are the same as that day's. I personally believe that Sun Yilin's article is enough to make him the top scorer. Today, I want to see if there will be a better article. If there isn't, the top scorer today will not live up to his name. All right, let's begin. Even though it was the beginning, no one started writing. Not all of them knew about the incident, much less the article. In fact, more than half of them did not know about it. If they knew that this would happen, they would have broken up the article and studied it thoroughly. Now, not only did they not know the content, but they also did not know the style of the article. However, perhaps Mad Scholar was the breakthrough? However, those who knew about it, especially those who had read it on the spot, began to sweat. What on earth did Lu Chengdi mean? The arrogance of that article made them shudder. Did he really want to write it according to that style? But what if the emperor did not mean that? What could they do? After all, how many emperors would like an article that scolded the world? The one with the most complicated feelings was Chen Zhengmin. He had also written an article that day. Moreover, he had a habit of thinking carefully about the questions he had solved. If he were to write another one now, it would definitely be better than that one. Emperor Lu Chengdi's words did not affect him much. Even though he wanted to compete with Sun Yilin, He wanted to write his own article more. This question was too advantageous for him. It was almost like cheating. Speaking of which, the courtiers did not understand Emperor Lu Chengdi's actions. They originally thought that he had suppressed Sun Yilan's article and did not ask about it. This was the end of the matter. Those who wanted to impeach Sun Yilan would not be able to do so. Now, he brought it up again and even said that it was well written and that he would be the top scorer. What was he trying to do? Li Hongyuan was very relaxed. In his previous life, this year's court examination also had the same question. However, Sun Yilan should not have solved the question in advance. After all, at this time, Sun Yilan had not entered the officialdom. The examinees were all thinking hard about whether they should write according to Sun Yilan's style. Yilan, write another article. I also want to see what you will write when you are sober. Emperor Lu Chengdi said to Sun Yilan. Yes, Your Majesty. The eunuch quickly prepared the things that Sun Yilan needed. After Sun Yilan sat down, he thought for a while and started to write. He was not an examinee. Furthermore, he had already written so arrogantly. Now that he was writing, he did not need to worry too much. He could just write what he wanted to write. While Sun Yilan was writing, Chen Zhengmin also started to write. Emperor Lu Chengdi drank his tea and seemed to have thought of something. Official Luo, who is your prospective grandson-in-law? Show me. Luo Peishan naturally hid it. Your Majesty, the one in the middle of the first row on the right. Emperor Lu Chengdi raised his head and knocked. Fifth in the imperial examination. What a young talent. No wonder you liked him. What is his surname and name? Surname Chun, given name Jingmin. Chun Jingmin? Why does this name sound so familiar? I remember now. Yilan, the one who wrote this article with you? His other article was pretty well written. Sun Yilan put down his brush and stood up. Your Majesty, it is indeed this person. All right, sit down. There is no need to stand up. That brat really got lucky this time. If he does not improve greatly this time, even if it is better than the last time, I will kick him into the top 3. How lucky was it to be able to write the same article before the imperial examination? This time, because he got lucky, he was kicked out of the top 3. His good luck turned into bad luck. Many people felt sorry for him. Fifth in the imperial examination. Logically speaking, no matter how bad he was, he should be able to get into the top 20 of the top 2. No one thought that Qin Jingmin would have a big breakthrough. After all, things like current affairs and policy had a lot to do with a person's experience. It hadn't been long since the last time. How much could Qin Jingmin's experience have increased? Luo Peishan sighed. It was pure bad luck to meet such an emperor. Sun Yilan stopped writing. Finished writing? Give it to me. I have a look. Sun Yilan handed it over with both hands. Lu Chengdi quickly browsed through it. Suddenly, he clapped his hands. Good. Worthy of being the first young master in the capital. His voice was so loud that the students below were affected. They all looked up. It would have been better if they did not see it. When they saw it, their hearts skipped a beat. It was getting worse. He lowered his head to look at his own article. The more he looked, the more he could not do it. Start again. Your Majesty, this servant saw that Chen Jingmin and Chen Gongsheng seemed to have finished writing. Oh? Go bring it up. I have a look. He passed Sun Yilan's article to the courtiers. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.